Failure purifies us, burns off the waste we have accumulated, and reveals the essence of our being. Because failure rule number 1, failure purifies, is our friend. It is when we are weighed down by the overbearing, blinding effect of the shadows that enshroud us that failure can purify us and enable the light in the shadows to emerge. Irish punk band, the Rumjacks, capture this idea in their song, Light in My Shadow, as they sing about the shadow of despair that exists when you're distanced from the one you love, and have a hope of returning to that person. Soon is the light that breaks through the failure shadow of loneliness.
Woke up in another state with a pounding in my head, floor covered in blood and broken glass, and I can turn the job jumps on and step like a dog who's at his day, and by the morning all the words that you said keep coming back.
Now, the failure of loneliness is just one type of failure. There are many strains of failure that can occur. They are not all avoidable. They are not all self-imposed. Some failure, the general experiential failure synonymous with the mere participation in the human condition, simply occurs to us or around us or enshrouds our circumstances without consulting our will and without ratification. It is this type of failure, contained within failure rule number 1, failure purifies, that J.R.R. Tolkien, the father of high fantasy, knew well during his time serving with the British Army in World War I. Most of his school friends had been killed in the war. Almost his entire battalion had been wiped out by the fighting. Had it not been for his own health problems and his subsequent periodic removals from the battlefield, Tolkien himself would have likely been killed. Tolkien's health issues, including a bout with trench fever, eventually found him weak, emaciated, and out of combat for good. During this time, he sought recovery and solace while staying at a cottage in the Little Haywood, Staffordshire area of England. In his classic book, The Fellowship of the Ring, Tolkien wrote, "From the ashes, a fire shall be awoken. A light from the shadows shall spring." What was in the ashes of Tolkien's war-torn emaciation, nestled in the respite cottage of Staffordshire, that Tolkien's fire awoke, and light sprung from the shadows of the physical failures that war had imposed upon his being. That fire was the action he took to begin writing the Book of Lost Tales, which was an attempt to create a mythology for England with its first installment titled The Fall of Gondolin. Tolkien never completed the project. Nonetheless, its incomplete drafting represented the imaginative awakening of the literary fire inside that was born in the ash-laden state left by the war-imposed health failures that Tolkien endured. It was this purification by failure that created the circumstances in which Tolkien was able to ignite a new fire of meaningful output. This fire endured and would mutate and grow over the years into an unmistakable body of work to be studied for generations to come. Tolkien's forced respite at the cottage in Little Haywood was a consequence of the general experiential failure synonymous with the mere participation in the human condition. Whether we like it or not, war is a symptom of deep-rooted failures in the human condition, and it has always punctuated life on Earth. Sickness, like Tolkien's struggle with the trench fever, is also a perennial force of failure attached to the human condition. The failure forces of war and sickness enshrouded Tolkien's life without his consent, and then those failure forces purified him. Real failure is the great purifier. No matter what strain of failure befalls you, if it is real failure, it will strip you down to your true essence. In real failure, your old reliances, false assumptions, unworthy allegiances, and foolish attachments will disappear. Real failure will leave you empty enough to hear the quiet whisper of your internal spirit voice inside. Amid this emptiness, this voice will amplify into instructive audible clarity. It will urge you to take an unflinching assessment of the full depth of your own resourcefulness. True, devastating, game-changing, full-blown failure will scorch the earth of your comfort. It will blaze through the garbage that entangles you with cleansing flames of truth. In 2013, my ex-wife and I began our divorce path by permanently separating. This was a fast follow to a business divorce I had just gone through. It was when I found myself living alone in a hotel room with no office to report to by day and no family to come home to at night that the light I needed to see sprung from the shadows. And it was in the feeling of the oppression of the shadow of war and being rendered medically unfit to further contend with its power that J.R.R. Tolkien was able to see the lights spring from the shadows, revealing a new purpose for his life. If you're walking through any strain of failure, take note of what extraneous rubbish is being torched off of you. You may realize that much of it needed to burn for you to move forward into your calling journey. As you persist through your failure, Keep your eyes wide open for the new light to spring from the shadows. It is this new light, illuminated to prominence by the absence of the burned garbage lying in the ashes of your failure experience, that will guide you towards the next lighthouse along your calling voyage. When you are at the burnt end of failure's purification, you can take true inventory of what remains and what has existed unseen all along. If you accept this purification with submission, you'll be able to take a true assessment of your applicable skills, useful compounded knowledge, aggregate physical and financial resources, and intangible spiritual and mental strengths. In the cleansed state of emptiness produced by failure's burning, you have an opportunity to finally see your being clearly without the normal constraint biases colored by a high fidelity to security. Real failure teaches you to find jewels disguised as dirty pebbles. Real failure gives you eyes to see the unseen. Real failure will teach you to isolate every line item of your financial, material, spiritual, and emotional life and make granular changes and adjustments that normal circumstances would never encourage you to do. When you are stripped of all other encumbrances, you can discover the ability, courage, and audacity to transform the intangible spiritual nature of ideas and animate them into real, material, robust realities. These new realities are the fires that awaken from the ashes of failure. Your fire might be a unique business plan that blends cumulative lessons learned into a crystallized vision. The fire might rise from dormant and hidden skill sets, now resurrected and repurposed toward wholly new and engaging opportunities. Your fire might ignite you to leverage underestimated relationships for brand new partnerships and collaborations. Or, like Tolkien, your fire may nudge you to respond to long-muzzled creative impulses and follow them diligently for the first time. After it sucks, one of the ways in which failure rules is in how it can teach you the spirituality of ideas and imagination. Failure, if metabolized wisely, can help you master the art of converting dreams into material realities of reinvention. Speak, craft, and push your intangible ideas into tangible existence. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a creative, or a person pursuing an authentic life, you need to learn to overcome paralysis when you see fences of material and circumstantial restriction erected along your path. It is in the abyss of failure that you can often best learn to harness your spiritual ability to build imaginative trampolines that catapult you over fences of doubt into the path of your mysterious, tumultuous calling journey. This is where it all starts, in failure's ashes. This is where the rules begin and the purification of failures burn. This is where the fire awakens under the wings of the rising phoenix. This is where the lights emerging from the shadows make themselves known. The phoenix must burn to emerge. Learn failure rule number 1. Failure purifies. Welcome to failure. Welcome to the great purifier. Welcome to the light in your shadows.